Hey everyone, this is Corwin Smith from TechTower.com, and today I'll be doing the case portion of our product render for the game Prominence. After this, Keith will be bringing in the disk and this case to do a final product render in a future tutorial. And with that, we'll get started. So we're just going to go to the tab here, and we're going to go change the unit to metric. The reason we're doing this is because I went and I got the measurements in the metric system for game cases. So we're going to make a to-scale game case and not just an aesthetically looking one. It's going to be actually to scale. And then we're going to press N to bring up this panel here. And with that, we can go and change the dimensions of our case that we're starting with. So we're going to go and change this from 2 meters to 190 millimeters, so 190 mm. And we're going to change Y to 15 millimeters, so 15 mm. And then X to 135 millimeters, so 135 mm. And we'll zoom in here, and this is what we're going to start working with and build on from there. So we'll tab in edit mode, and we'll go. And so we're going to model in where our sleeve art will be. So go Control R for loop cut, and we'll just right click here, and then we'll go to global under the median here, and we'll just move this up. So we'll move it up on the Z to 90 millimeters, and then we'll do Control R again, right click, whoops, Control R, right click, and then we'll go to negative 90 millimeters. And then lastly, we're going to go Control R once more, right click again, and with that we're going to go to 62 millimeters. And after that, we're going to go and we're going to start modeling the lines that you see around the case where the opening is. So we're going to press 7, 5 to go in orthographic, and we're going to go Control R, and we'll right click here, and we're going to move this along the y-axis. So we're going to go to 0.50767 millimeters. So this is very small. And we'll do this one more time. Right click, and this time we're going to go to negative 0.50767 as well millimeters. And so that's where our opening on the cases will be. Like when you open it up, there's that little seam that goes all the way around. And then once we have that, we're going to model in the opening where your fingers go to open up the case. So we're going to press 3 to go to the right, and I'll go Control R to add a loop cut, right click, and we're going to move this up on the Z. So we're going to move that up 45 millimeters, and go Control R again, right click, and move this one to negative 45 millimeters. And so that's kind of the top and bottom of where that finger opening area is. And so we'll do the sides now. So we're going to go Control R, and right click. On the Y, we're going to go to 5 millimeters. Oops. The Y, we're going to go negative 5 millimeters, sorry. And this side, we're going to go Control R again, right click, and this one's going to go to 5 millimeters. And so this is the area where the finger space is going to be. And so now we just have to extrude the finger area back. So we're going to select these 3 faces here, and we'll go to the front, and I'll press E, right click, and we'll move this back on the Z to, since it's 4 millimeters back, we'll go 6.35 millimeters. And that doesn't seem right. 6.35 centimeters. That's right. Alright, so now that that's there, we're going to start getting ready to tighten the area up for when we put a subsurf modifier on. But first we're going to go add a loop cut right here. get a little zoomed in a little closer. Add a loop cut right on this seam here. Right click. And then we're gonna go deselect these back ones edges here. Oops. And we're just gonna extrude that in a bit. So we're gonna go to median, E. No, we're not gonna extrude. Never mind. We're gonna go to the median still. We're gonna scale this in. So press S and just scale it in ever so slightly. You may or may not have to tweak this just a little bit after, depending on what it looks like with the subsurf on. But now we're going to go to the modifier tab here, and we'll go add modifier and add subdivision surface, and we're just going to change the view to 2 just to get it a little more smooth. And so if we tab out and look at it, the front looks pretty normal, but the back's a little wonky. So to make this even, we're going to go tab back in and go Control R, click that, right click, and we're going to move this on the X to negative 6.2 millimeters. Or negative 62 millimeters rather. And so now they look flush and even at the other side. The reason that it looks the same is because this is the same distance there as this is there now, so they will look the same. Next we're going to add a couple lines. This will affect when we go and add the material IDs and stuff. So we're going to go do Control R here and right click, and we'll do Control R down here as well, right click, and we'll Alt Shift select this line. And we'll just scale this on the Z to about just pretty close to around there. And then we'll go and we'll move this, or no, we won't move it, but we will do same thing on this side here, and we'll just move this over. And so now that'll be nice and tight there with the subsurf. Next up, we have to make this look a little more proper. So we're just going to remove, well, not remove it, but we're just going to hide it for now. And we're going to do a loop cut on the inside here. I'll go to this angle. I just had a loop cut here. Oops, Control E. Add a loop cut and move that down, and we'll see what that looks like. And so now that we have that loop cut in that area there, it's looking proper with the depth, but we need to bring these sides so that they look a little more normal, to say the least. So we'll hide this again, and then we'll get ready to add the loop cuts. So we'll go Control R on this loop here, and we'll just slide that over. Actually, we'll go Control R there, right click, do the same thing to this other side, right click, Alt Shift, right click and select this one again, press 3 to go to the right side, and we'll just scale this on the Y in a bit. So now if we bring this up, it'll look a little more proper on that side, and we just need to do the same thing for the top and the bottom. So press 3 again, hide this once more, Control R, right click, and same thing down here, Control R, and right click, and we'll Alt Shift select the top one we did, and we'll scale this on the Z this time, and let's bring that in nice and close. About there. And so now when we show this, our finger area is looking proper. And so with that, we will now get ready for the texturing portion. So we'll tab back in, and we'll go to the material tab here. Press 1 to go to the front, Z to go into wireframe. I'm going to go to face select mode, zoom in a bit, and I'm going to press C for my selection tool. Feel free to use any other method you would like. But I'm just going to be selecting these faces here that we had for our label. There we go. And I just need these small ones on this side as well. Alright, and now that we have those selected, we're going to go assign, and we're just going to name this material label, and we're going to press plus to add a new one. Whoops. Press plus here to add a new one. And so we're just going to select the faces we didn't have selected for this. So if we go press A to deselect it, and C to get our selection tool again. I'm just going to go along and select all these. And same thing over here. Just orbit around, make sure we got all of them, and it looks like it. So we'll go and press assign for this one, and we'll call this one plastic. And so now that we have our materials set up, or rather the material IDs set up, we'll go into cycles, and we'll click use nodes. We'll change this down here to a node editor. There we go. And then you got to remember to click the material there. And so we'll set up our material now. And we'll go. So this is going to be a really simple one. Pull that off. We'll go Shift A to add a new. And we'll go add a glossy shader. And the last thing we'll need for our plastic will be a mix shader. So we'll just throw that there. And we'll wire these up right now. And then we just have to change some values a bit. So our diffuse, since we want our plastic to be black, we'll drop that down to black. And we'll keep the roughness, actually we'll change it to 0.1. And with our glossy, we're just going to make it a little grayer. We'll keep the roughness at 0.2, but we're going to change the factor so that it's a little more to the diffuse side. So we'll change that to 0.05 instead. And then we'll go to our rendered viewport to take a look at that. So you can see it's there, but we can't quite see any reflections because we don't have an environment map in there to reflect. So we'll go to our world tab, use nodes, we'll go to the color here, use environment texture, and then we'll open up a texture, and we'll just go and find one. For the tutorial here, I will use just the environment texture we have here. Press 5 to go to perspective just to get it to work, and then we can see that it's starting to reflect. So it's looking pretty good there. So we're just going to keep it at that. But now we need to do the label portion, which is just left gray there. So we'll go back to the material, click on label, and we're just going to bring another tab out here. And we'll change this to a UV image layout. And I'll click image, open image. And same thing, we'll provide the texture for this. But we'll go case cover. And here's our lovely case cover designed by Keith Morgan. So we'll go and we'll select all these faces here by clicking select, press U, and unwrap. That's a lot. Tab. Okay. So we're gonna go back into solid, and we're just gonna select the label. Label faces, and I'll press U, unwrap those. And so we have them up in our UV layout here. So we're just going to rotate them 90 degrees because they're facing the wrong way. And now you can see they're all wonky and stuff, so we're just going to have to straighten them out. So go Alt right click those, and this one will scale on the Y by 0. I lied. Sorry. This one will scale on the X by 0. And we'll just do that for all the vertical ones. So go there, Shift R to repeat the last one we did. And we'll just go all the way down and do that for these lines. And then we just have to do the top to bottom ones as well. So we'll go select, and we'll scale this one on the Y by 0. And do the same thing. Select all these ones, Shift R, lets us repeat the previous one. And now that we have that all finished up, we're going to press A twice to select everything. Go to UVs, and we'll pack the island. And as you can see, it's almost fitting it, but it's not quite. So we're just going to go to UVs again, in constraint pixel bounds, and we'll go again and snap to pixels. And so we'll just move this up on the Z by going G and Z, and I'll just scale that up on, just scale up, it's already limited. And that's looking about right. And so now we just have to get the back binding lined up properly. So if we zoom in on our model here, we can see that we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines that we have to do, and we only have 3 in there, so we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and scale these all in on the X, and I'll bring that in just inside the glow here. And once we have those lined up, we'll also bring these two a little bit closer, and so we'll scale that in on the X as well, and bring that in to about, oh, there, move that over a bit, and so that should be pretty close to our case cover that we have. Actually, it will be close, it's about right. So now we will set up the nodes for this. So we'll use nodes, and this is also a fairly easy one to set up. We'll go Shift A to input texture coordinate, drop that over here, and we'll Shift A texture image texture. We'll connect the UV to the vector here, and we'll open up our image texture that we were using. Next we will use the diffuse, so we'll attach the color there to the color in the diffuse. We'll add a glossy shader, because the covers are always a little shiny from that plastic covering on top. And then we'll add a mix shader as well, since we have to mix the two. And we'll just plop that right there. So we'll connect that one up there. We'll change the roughness of the glossy to 0.02 is what we were using. And we just left the roughness for the diffuse at 0 before, and then we changed the factor to 0.15. And then we'll go to rendered here, it's 5. And if we look at that, it's looking like our game case that we're going to use. And so hopefully this helped you guys out. Next up, as I said before, Keith will be bringing the disc in, and then he'll be doing a final product render for this. But yeah, so now that you know how to design the case, hopefully this will help you out with a few other things. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. This is Corwin from Tech Tile, and we'll see you guys next time.